Hey guys, Ro Khanna went to the West Bank and he was detained by Israeli settlers, and the embassy called to get him released, and his life was in danger. They were holding M4 rifles, which are made in America, by the way, and of course we give it to them for free in Israel. We give everything for free in Israel, so they could insult us and harm us with our own money. So the IDF soldiers come and they're going to represent. They're going to rescue Representative Khanna, right? He's a U.S. congressman. Of course not. The IDF soldiers come and laugh at him and further detain him. In fact, they blocked the road more effectively than the settlers did. And Representative Khanna was stunned by it. So we're going to try to have him on the show on Monday. We're talking to him now. As luck would have it, on Monday, we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene as my guest host. So Anna's out, so we have a number of interesting guest hosts for you guys next week. Dave Smith, Adam Mockler, a big range. But Marjorie Taylor Greene happens to be on Monday, and we're going to try to get Ro on, and we're talking to him about it so he can tell you the whole story for himself, because he's got his story and the story of the Palestinians that he met with in the West Bank. I'm going to tell you a couple of those right now, and I'm going to tell you what wound up happening to Ro after he was detained by the IDF, and the most infuriating part. So the show, of course, is live at 6 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. So we'll try to have Ro on Monday at 6 o'clock Eastern. So check that out. But now let me tell you the rest of the story. So first of all, Ro went there to the West Bank, and not on one of those sanctioned, choreographed, outrageous propaganda trips that every other congressman takes to Israel. Instead, he went with Cameron Kasky. You might remember from the Parkland shooting. He was one of the survivors, and he's now helping Ro. And Nathaniel Jasper, you might remember him. We did a story about him and then talked to him. He had been bravely covering what's happening in the West Bank to the Palestinians, and he documented several Palestinians, including an elderly woman, being beaten by the settlers. They attacked Nathaniel as well. By the way, this is a small side note, but both Nathaniel and Cameron are both Jewish Americans, and they've been doing amazing work there and trying to show people the plight of the Palestinians and how they're being terribly abused by the Israelis. So they're in the West Bank, and they're hearing these stories, and Ro hears these stories. Oh, I see all the Israeli bots and trolls have showed up in the chat. So they're probably celebrating, and there's like, haha, we mock Americans all the time. We take your money and we insult you and we spit in your face. And they love that. They think it's like the greatest thing in the world, which is at the core of this story. So Ro meets with a Palestinian American father who had his 14-year-old son murdered by the Israelis. And his son's an American. So did we get any justice? Of course not. The Palestinians have not, the Israelis have not arrested a single Israeli that has murdered a Palestinian since 2023. And there's been thousands of Palestinians murdered by Israeli settlers, by the IDF. Not one indictment, not one. Okay, so those are Palestinians, and unless you're a deranged radical Zionist, or you work in American media, but really the same thing, you would know, of course, the Palestinians are terribly abused by the Israelis. It's an obvious apartheid state. It's sick that we're funding this fascist government, right? So the Palestinians are getting abused. The Israelis treat them as subhuman, and they do the worst kind of things. But wait till you hear some of the stories that Ro's coming back with. But American citizens, we're the ones funding Israel. They should at a bare minimum care about Americans, right? No, 14-year-old American killed. Our so-called government, because it's represented by Mike Huckabee, which I'll come back to. Marjorie Taylor Greene being on the show on Monday is relevant to this. Tucker Carlson is outraged. A lot of the right wing is outraged by this. And in fact, Tucker Carlson has called yesterday for Mike Huckabee to be fired over this, because Mike Huckabee, first of all, barely responded in getting Ro Khanna out. And then publicly, he did not chastise the Israelis at all, did not make a single comment about a U.S. congressman detained illegally by the IDF, by the thug terrorist settlers and the thug terrorist IDF. our ambassador is supposed to speak out for us. But of course, he's Israel's ambassador. And so, of course, he should be fired. But on top of that, has Mike Huckabee asked for and demanded the arrest of all the people who have killed American children in Israel? Of course not. Huckabee has done barely anything about it. And guess what? That the murderer of that 14-year-old American child, totally free to go, no justice, no arrest, no indictment, no nothing. In fact, 10 Americans have been murdered by the Israelis in the last 3 years. And I'm not saying that like, oh, it was a bombing, it was an accident. No, murdered by settlers or the IDF. And there's been no arrests. And America has not even demanded arrests. Are you in like? So they're allowed to, they've taken $320 billion from us. They've caused us 7 wars that has cost us $8 trillion. They demand an endless set of money. And now in Section 219, they'd like to merge our military technology and steal basically $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion that we spend every year on that technology and on that defense. And they're going to get all of it now because of the disgustingly corrupt congressmen and politicians that serve Israel when they should be serving America. And so on top of all of that, they murder our citizens, and we don't ask them to arrest the people that they that did those murders. We should demand that. Of course, Huckabee's like, oh, are you going to arrest them? Oh, you didn't. Oh, okay, that's totally fine. Totally fine. Here's more money. Here's more billions of dollars. Let me steal from Americans that you're murdering so that I can pay you, Israel. Why? Because, of course, Huckabee and all the other politicians in America have been bought, purchased. This is an empirical fact. Campaign contributions in the millions for all of these, to collectively in the billions. And all of the people in our national media say, no, we're so unintelligent. We can't say, oh, the AIPAC and the Israeli lobby spent billions of dollars collectively over all these election cycles. And in the last election cycle, they spent $127 million, and they were the largest PAC to spend, largest lobby to spend money into Congress in the last cycle. They've given to 94% of Congress, and all of our reporters in America go, I can't see it. I don't know facts. No. You can't say that Israel controls these politicians, even though they obviously control them. And you can show the money and the votes, right? But no, they absolutely refuse to report the news because they're totally bought out as well by the radical Zionists like Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison that have bought almost all of our media. So that's just a fact. And if you don't like it, that's a sad day for you. But those are empirical, provable facts. So then the worst part of the Ro Khanna arrest is, so Ro hears these stories about the 14-year-old dead. I'll tell you one more. He talked to Palestinians who say that the Israeli settlers, their last way of intimidating them and trying to drive them from the land so they could steal it and take it, because they think God promised it to them 3,000 years ago, because they're deranged religious fundamentalists. We're funding terrorist lunatics. You literally, if you think that God whispered in your, oh, I gave you that land 3,000 years ago, murder the people on it, murder them, kill them, and take it. God is not deranged like that. I mean, if God exists, I don't think he's a psychopathic killer like the Israeli settlers believe he is. So, but they believe that. And so they go around murdering people and abusing people. And the last story that he heard, and we've reported on this as well, is that they've started urinating on the Palestinians and their children, the Israeli settlers, as a form of intimidation. They are the sickest, most disgusting religious fundamentalists on planet Earth. And we are forced to finance them. You have to work a second shift. You have to work your ass off so they can take money out of your taxes to send it to these terrorists who go around urinating on children to drive their parents from the land so they could steal it. So then they take a U.S. congressman, they block his road, they start kicking the tires of the minibus, and they start mocking him. They go, no, he's a U.S. congressman. Just strategically, it's a bad idea, let alone morally, because we know you have absolutely no morals if you're an Israeli settler. None, zero. They believe that they're allowed to abuse and treat other people as subhuman. You can't get more immoral than that. So they're like, yeah, but strategically, this is a dumb idea. This is a U.S. Congress. They're like, we don't care. Ha, ha, ha. And you think, well, those are just settler terrorists, right? But when the IDF comes, at least they'll have enough sense. No, they go, Rogue sees them and goes, okay, at least the Israeli army is here. I'm sure they'll let me go. We're the ones who fund them, etc. He gets that they like that again, that they're doing terrible things, and that's why he's there to hear the stories personally. By the way, how incredibly courageous of Ro Khanna, right? So then they get there and they go, no, we're not going to let you go. And he's like, what? You're not here to no, we're not here to rescue you. We're here to detain you longer. And they block the road, the IDF does. And they start mocking him. They start mocking all the Americans and the American congressman. He's like, no, we called the embassy. And they're like, the American embassy. And they start laughing. Why do they do that? Because they know the American so-called leaders don't work for America. They work for Israel. And even the settlers know it. IDF soldiers know it. Everybody but the American media, all the reporters in America. Outside of them, everyone on planet Earth, including the Israelis, know that the Americans have no control. The Israelis mock us 24/7. And you got a US congressman there. He might run for president. They're like, who cares? We own your country anyway. You're to stay here and to be intimidated and brutalized like the Palestinians. By the way, Rose said he's never felt more brown. He's Indian, Indian American, obviously, but he's like, it's such an obvious apartheid state that you feel your skin color. You feel people looking at you and you know, in their mind, and then in person and in real life and in their actions, immediately trying to intimidate you and looking down on you. And he said it's a toxic culture of oppression with no accountability and total impunity. And that is exactly right. The reason why they have total impunity to spit in our face, and by the way, they literally spit on Christians in Jerusalem. They have no respect for any other religion. And when I say they, guys, I never mean Jewish Americans. Remember, two Jewish Americans are the ones that brought Roe there and are the ones fighting back against this. I mean the radical Zionists that right now are unfortunately dominating Israeli politics and overwhelmingly dominating it. I mean, almost all the candidates for prime minister are radical Zionists. Almost all of them say that they're for greater Israel and for land expansion and keeping southern Lebanon and driving out everyone left in Gaza and stealing the Gaza, stealing and annexing the West Bank. They're all for a fascist expansion of a fascist state. And that is not hyperbole at all. That is what every fascist government does. Oh, we are the victims. The Germans were the victims of World War I. So we had to kill all the Jews and the Poles and the Roma and the LGBTQ. We had to murder everyone, right? And it was for self-defense. It was to protect the Germans in the Sudetenland and in Poland. So now the Israelis are like, oh, we learned just from them. Oh, yes, it's for self-defense. Ha, ha, ha. As we take the Sudetenland, I mean southern Lebanon, as we take Gaza, the West Bank, and we mock Americans and we spit in their face and we spit on Christians and we murder Muslims, and you owe us money and you owe us money. And if you don't give us money, you're all anti-Semites and we're going to cancel you. And we're going to ruin your lives in America. And we're going to ruin your lives anywhere else. And that is how radical Zionists are operating throughout the world. And here, by detaining a U.S. congressman and laughing at him, they're basically rubbing it in all of our faces. They're like, oh, what are you going to do, Americans? You're not going to do anything. We totally and utterly control you. And then when you say, hey, look, they are claiming that they totally and utterly control us and they treat us with contempt and they mock our congressmen and our representatives, the only representative we've got left other than Massey, who's around for a couple more months, that's actually fighting back against the Israeli abuse, fighting for Team America, for all of us here. They're like, oh, you're fighting for Americans? You're the one of the few representatives they have that isn't representing Israel? Oh, yeah, we'll threaten your life with American-made weapons, and we'll mock you, and we'll detain you, and we'll put you in danger. And then we won't do a goddamn thing about it. That is how the Israelis view America. So obviously we have to end their funding. This is insanity. To continue to enable this fascism as they oppress, obviously. I mean, can anybody really defend what the Israelis have done in the West Bank and Gaza? How deeply immoral do you have to be? How evil do you have to be to defend what the brutality and the disgusting oppression of the occupation. And a bunch of people who pretend that they're not radical Zionists think, oh, yeah, the occupation, 58 years of an apartheid state, a tyrannical, incredibly oppressive state who clearly treats Palestinians as subhuman in West Bank and Gaza Strip. Oh, that's perfectly fine. The Palestinians had it coming. The Palestinians made us do it. Do you understand that you sound exactly like fascists? You sound like the racist in South Africa who did that to black people. And you think, oh, well, they're not black, they're Palestinians, they're Arabs, they're Muslims. So we can abuse them. We can keep them as our slaves for 58 years. We can deny them their freedom, their liberty, and we can spit in America's faces. If you think all of that, you are not our ally. You are not a democracy. You're a disgusting apartheid state. And it's about damn time that we showed what American sovereignty is about and end this madness of supporting these out of control fascists. So, and they can kiss my American ass if they keep, oh yeah, you have to apologize to us because you've hurt our feelings. No, I meant to hurt your feelings. I want to be super clear about that. If the Nazis were around today, I would try my hardest to hurt their feelings at a bare minimum. At a bare minimum, okay? And I certainly wouldn't fund the Nazis. It's an absolute outrage. And now for them to turn around and go, no, we get to do it. We get to do it. We have a special free pass to do a genocide and to steal other people's land. No, you don't. That's not a thing that exists. So these radical Zionists will continue to abuse America, take our money, and then use it to abuse their Arab and Christian and Muslim neighbors and take their land until we put an end to it. Not one more dollar. And you should never vote for anyone who takes Israeli lobby money. Are you kidding me? They're having a Michigan Senate race right now. Haley Stevens has taken $17 million from the Israeli lobby. She says that Israel comes to her in her dreams, that she went to Congress to represent the people of not Michigan, but the people of Israel. Ted Cruz says he went to Congress and became a senator to represent Israel, not America. You'd be out of your mind. Haley Stevens is a Democrat, Ted Cruz is a Republican. You'd be out of your mind to vote for any Democrat or Republican who says that they're going to represent a foreign country and not your country. Tucker Carlson is enraged not because Ro Khanna is a Democrat, but because Ro Khanna is an American. And he said, how dare they do this? And what did Huckabee do instead of making a big deal out of this and demanding his release and talking about it publicly? Huckabee talked about how he's going to go on Fox News and push for more war that Israel wants. Huckabee's a disgusting traitor to this country. So I'm so glad Ro Khanna is home again and safe. Hopefully he'll be on the show on Monday at 6 o'clock Eastern. I appreciate all of you guys with your super chats and everybody who joined. Splurt Records 6318. Thanks for becoming a member. Really, really appreciate it. Hit the join button, support the show. Obviously, we're besieged by if you don't know, radical Zionists are attacking our show. Of course they are. They're attacking our network. They're attacking our show. They're attacking our families because they have no bounds and they have no morality. So, and they think if you're an American media or you're an American politician, we get to own you. And if they don't own someone, they get super mad. That's why they're mad at Ro Khanna. That's why they're mad at the Young Turks. How dare you not serve Israel? Well, we're not serving Israel. And so that's why we're proud Americans. Support us. Hit the join button below. Come and watch the show every day, 6 o'clock Eastern. And hopefully Ro on Monday with me and Marjorie Taylor Greene. All right, we'll see you guys then.